Can you hear me? Yeah, that was the problem. The microphone was in the iPad and it don't have an external speaker, so I couldn't hear you on here. So you're good now. No, I appreciate you, bro. Things are good out here in Colombia, man. I'm in the process of giving up the view behind me. I have to move on Monday, but all good things. You know, it has been pretty fun out here. I literally just hung up with another Morehouse brother, William Easley. He actually lives out there in Panama. And I was telling him that we were jumping on to discuss Ghana and kind of why. There
Mm.
have been an outpouring of people reaching out since the election became the next crossroads in life in America. And realistically, you know, I put together some things and some other people put together some things based off of relocation tours, but we're not everywhere. And what is happening is I'm getting questions about different places. And luckily for me, I know a lot of people that are actively living around the world. So I wanted to reach out to you because Ghana is definitely one of the buzzwords, buzz places as far as, especially for African Americans living in America looking to move abroad. I know you've lived elsewhere also. So I wanted to make certain that people could get some information from somebody that knows what they're talking about, somebody that understands traveling around the world, period. And then two, can kind of like, it's a lot of people that have turned their lights on to become content creators, and that's both good and bad because people are branding themselves aficionados and they may have only been somewhere for 3 days, but they just really good at storytelling and really good at footage. But then people are basing their entire lives off of somebody that really doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm doing my job to
Yeah.
bring the people that know what they're talking about on to these platforms and give some real deal. So before we get too far into it, please tell everybody who you are. I already know who you are, but please tell anybody that does not know who you are, where you're from, where you are now, and how long you've been there.
Okay, I'm glad you gave me some specific things to answer because when you say who am I, like there I could say a lot of different things. I can talk for a long time. So, who I am, my name is Andrew, and I attended Morehouse College, which is where, obviously you and I met. Uh, I am originally from Baltimore, but I lived in pretty much I've been living overseas since 2011. I lived in 5 different countries now, and I've been currently living in Ghana since 2022. So I actually have like 6 more months, less than 6 more months before I move out of here and I'm on to my next assignment. Yeah, that is the quick nutshell. I've been here for 2.5 years so far, so it'll be wrapping up my 3-year tour.
Nice, nice. Now, you mentioned you lived some other places. Where are some of these other places that you've lived at?
So I started off in 2011 and I lived in the Philippines for 2 years. So I lived in the Philippines from 2011 to 2013. Then I moved to Sweden from 2013 to 2016. Then I moved to Iraq from 2016 to 2017.
Kept that with
And
yourself.
then I,
Didn't know that.
yeah, you know that. Yeah. So then I went to Costa Rica from 2017 to 2020.
Okay.
And during the pandemic, 2020 to 2022, I was in DC, and now I am in Ghana from 22 to 25.
Nice, nice. No,
So yeah, I've been all over the world.
that is extensive, and it leads me into a question, and I don't want to get too far into that question, but I know people are wondering: are you just doing this on your own? You mentioned contracts and assignments. Is this we're all work related travel?
Yeah, so everywhere that I've lived has been afforded to me by my job. So I work for the government. Not too exciting, but I'm an engineer and I work for the government. The long and short of it. But I have like contracts that move me around to different places in the world, and that's how I've been lucky enough to live in the places that I've lived. I've chosen kind of some of them, but it's more so just based on what's available and where there's a need for my expertise. So that's why I've been living overseas in those different places. And while I've lived in those places, traveled to, I think I'm at my country number 78 now.
Nice.
I've I've got
Road to
a
100.
pretty, say again, bro, it's very, very difficult to get to 100. And I've learned that once I got like over once I got probably over like 60 countries, it's become increasingly more difficult to get to 100. And that's primarily because I've seen a lot of the places that I've wanted to see. And I've been to many places many, many times. And I like at this point, I'm like, I'd rather go back to this place that I loved. You know, out of the 78
Mm.
countries that I've been to, there's at least 15 or 20 of them that I would absolutely love to go back to. So it just makes it like a lot more difficult for me to get from 78 to 100. But I'm still trying like
Yeah.
slowly but surely.
I mean, you've got Iraq crossed off, so you are on your way already. I don't think many people
Man,
immediately go like, you know what? Let me go get Iraq. I think Yemen's on there, right over there. Let me
yeah,
just.
don't recommend going to Iraq. But I've also been to like some really other like obscure places that you probably don't even know exist or definitely not on anybody else's radar. So as those questions come up, I can touch on those. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's I'll let you lead it because I don't wanna just be like talking for forever and then you're like, I wish this guy would like wrap it up. So like you can
Nah, man, we just
direct
having a
me
convo, bro.
direct me in the path that you want me to go. So yeah, that's
Nah,
my
that's
experience thus far.
and that's a lot of experience because a lot of people don't, a lot of people aren't in a situation where their job is going to take them around the world. That experience is definitely different. My homie Michelle, she was telling me she lived in a number of places in like the Middle East because she was teaching over there, and Colombia was one of her first places that she kind of was like, I'm going versus they're sending me to there. Let me
Mm,
ask you this, because you got your your path to Ghana is probably a
hmm.
little bit different than the average watcher. They're
Yes.
probably looking to Ghana to leave from the United States. Either I'm
Hmm.
retired or I work remotely with that. And because I take it, because you live over there and you work like based out of there, you're on the exact same time zone that you need to be for to be in Ghana. Like right now, we're doing this at 11:26 because it's 4:26 there right now. Correct?
Correct.
Do you often, because most of these guys, and I want to always bring this up because I always tell people when looking to move, make certain you know what time it is in the place that you are going, because a lot of people say, "Nah, I'll get it figured out when I get there," and they still may need to be on a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, if they're still doing remote work. And I tell them, consider, like, you remember when we went to school and you signed up from freshman year for 8 a.m. classes because you figured it was going to be similar to what it is that you, man, I get to school at 7:15. Like, what you mean? I can be in class at 8.
And
That's
it's
cool.
not the same.
It's
Not the
that's
same.
cat. That's cap. And so many people are literally lying to themselves and saying, I can go live in even 5 hours right now. It's 5 hours now and then 4 hours once the time changes again. But that can be really difficult for people to adjust to if they're still maintaining. Do you have any friends that you see trying to maintain that lifestyle?
Yeah, I do. I mean, even my wife, for example, she does contract work, so she sets her own schedule as much as she can, I would say, but sometimes she has meetings that she has to do that's still on DC time. Luckily, she can accommodate for a meeting here or there that's outside of what our schedule is here. Definitely for like a lot of people, like you said, if you're trying to maintain that 9 to 5 in the States, it can be considerably difficult, or at least at the very least, like inconvenient to try to do that while you're in Ghana because it's 5 hours. It's almost better if it's a 12-hour difference because then at least it's opposite. So now you're working nights
Yeah.
instead of working days. But like when you're like 5 to 6 hours ahead, then that definitely does make it more difficult in my opinion. But that's I don't know. I have to deal with that to some degree because a lot of my meetings are with people that are in DC, but it doesn't inconvenience me too much. I mean, even before this interview or this podcast right now, I had to go into the office to go respond to some stuff that people were on DC time and they needed an answer like right now. So I almost
Yeah.
didn't make it here, but here I am.
Nah, thank you for getting this on your schedule, man. And that is appreciated because that type of insight is real. We don't know who's watching. We don't know what jobs you have. We don't even know if Ghana is the place that is actually on your radar. But you just said, it may be easier to do a 12-hour shift and say, okay, now I just flip from day to night versus trying to find that in between with the 4 to 6 hours. Portugal,
Mm,
people like these kinds of places that when we start to get over on the other side of the world, you have to account for that and not sell yourself short and thinking that you're just going to be this stealth person that I mean, Superman that's going to be able to just I'm going to be up all night working, then I'm going to go out and
mm,
enjoy my life, and you have to realize that that can change. Now,
mm.
I know William when I told him I was talking to you, he said, tell him I'm waiting for my DNA results. Going to find out whether or not where what part of Africa I'm from. But he's like, I'm coming. I'm looking to come to Africa and take advantage of what is it? The year to return? It's not the year of the return. Is it the right of abode? Is that it?
I don't know what the terms that people are using now, but I mean, like what's happening now is the president, well, not the president currently, but the previous president, because they just elected a new president. But the
Okay.
previous president was trying to get people of the diaspora to come back to Ghana and get citizenship, which I think can be a great thing for a lot of people. I won't say that it's absolutely necessary, but it does give you a sense of belonging. If if nothing else, it gives you a sense of belonging, and it affords you the opportunities to possibly move around different parts of Africa. Like if you have an ECOWAS passport, which is ECOWAS is Economic Organization of West African States or something like that. Maybe I got the O wrong, but it's something. It's the West African states. So that's like Ghana, Togo, Liberia, Benin, and everything like along that like west coast. So if you get one of those ECOWAS passports, then it allows you to move around to different places a little bit easier. Whereas like for me, it's difficult for me to go from here to Togo, which is right next door, or to Benin, which is two doors down, because I have
Mhm.
an American passport. So, like having an ECOWAS passport, if that's important to you, just to be able to move around, that is a benefit. Also, like I said, just feeling like a sense of belonging, where, like, well, if you have a Ghanaian passport, now you don't have to stay in the US. Like, you can come to Ghana and stay here forever if you so choose.
Hmm.
You could still stay here forever without having a Ghanaian passport, but again, it just makes your like moving around and like how you do business, it makes it just a little bit more difficult. So
Hmm.
that's basically what they've been trying to do now, is like just get people to come back and become Ghanaian citizens. And obviously that means investing our money into this country. So there's certainly benefits to doing that. I personally I don't find a benefit because I'm not staying here long term, and
Gotcha.
two, because with my job, I'm not able to have dual citizenship anywhere. So I wouldn't be able to get citizenship here unless I quit my job and then did something else, then I could get citizenship. So for me, it's not an option, nor does it particularly benefit me in this case. But for, like I said, many other people that are looking for just something different, an opportunity for change, another sense of belonging, then it's great. And to your point about somebody doing their DNA test,
Hmm.
I think that it is nice to know where you come from, but it's also important to remember that we as a people came from this region, and these lines and borders were like they're artificial. So
Yeah.
a lot of people will be like, "Oh, like I found my DNA, like I'm Ghanaian, or I'm from the Ivory Coast, or my roots are from Benin."
Hmm.
These are like lines that were drawn. I'm not sure what year each one of these countries got their independence, but these are lines that are drawn. So what I mean is that like you're not your roots aren't from Ghana. Your roots are from this area, which could have been Nigerian people. You know what I mean?
I
Like
like
it's just
like
that
that.
where the borders are right now says that it's from Ghana, it's from Nigeria. That's why when you get those DNA results, it'll have like a bunch of different countries that are all in close
In the
proximity
same.
because
That
we're
makes sense,
all
bro.
like from this area. So I mean, it's good to have that DNA just to say like, all right, well, you're mostly from like West Africa, or you're mostly from East Africa or South Africa, but saying like, oh, my roots say I'm from Ghana. It's like, I mean, but we're all kind of from here, this area,
Yeah.
right?
I
So
like that thinking though, bro, because I don't. Yeah, I think it takes something that we're all familiar with, and then really brings it all the way back home, where it's like, yeah, nobody's thinking about that. Like, when did these lines get drawn? Like,
yeah,
versus when did your people leave from there? We're
yeah,
talking two different things. You're from an area
yeah,
and not like New Jersey of Africa. Like, nah, like
yeah,
relax. And that
yeah.
provides a fresh thought process for certain, because it when I so I hear that, I take that you have moved from a lot of different places. It didn't sound like any of those places were all majority black places, whereas Ghana,
Zero.
right? So I'm like, with Ghana, it's black people everywhere. Like, what were your first thoughts when you got to Ghana, and what you versus what you were thinking versus what you actually saw when you got there?
So I had the opportunity to move to Ghana, and to me it was a no-brainer. It was one of the first opportunities that presented itself to get out of DC, and I had been wanting to live on the continent for a long time because like you said, I'd been to many other countries where I was the minority. So
Hmm.
I honestly wasn't used to seeing this many black people outside of Morehouse. You know what I mean? Outside of the A, like I'm just, and even in the A, like you go to certain parts of town, it's not all
Yeah.
black people.
Nope.
So coming here was the first experience that I had probably in my life where everybody was black. And I'm from Baltimore, and that's a very black city. DC is a very
Right.
black city. Atlanta is a very black city, but in none of these places is it
Oh,
black
black.
like here. Yeah, like it's all black here. So that is very nice to see. So I guess initially when I first got here, it was just like it was shock, but also very much like happiness and like a refreshing feeling. So it felt nice. It felt like home. As a matter of fact, I'll put it to you like this. When I was in Iraq, one of my bosses told me he how much he loved like Tanzania. And he's a white guy. And he said in Africa, no matter who you are, when you get to Africa, like you feel like you're home because it's like something that's inside of all of us, like inside our all of our DNA that just lets you know that like this is where we as a people came from. So this is a white dude that told me this. He was like, "Yeah, when you go to Africa, you just feel like you're home." So for him to say that as a white man, that says a lot. So obviously for me or any other black person when they come here, yeah, you feel like you're home. So I guess those were my initial feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't take long for that to become normal. And what I mean by that is once I had gotten used to being surrounded by all black people, the
Mm-hmm.
very next time I was in a scenario where there were even 50% white people, I was just like, whoa, like what is
Where
going
they
on
come?
here? Like is where did all these people come from? So it's kind of funny because now like in that moment, I felt like how white people feel when they start seeing black people in their neighborhoods. Like I was like, oh, that's how they feel. Just like this is odd. What all these people doing here? So and that's not even like in a. I know there's obviously like some underlying racial bias behind why white people may have that feeling towards black people, but I'm just acknowledging the fact of like when you have gotten used to a certain thing, like it's just very noticeable when that thing changes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. No, that I wanted to get that question and get that answer out of you, because so many people, me living in Colombia, people we grew up in America with the commercials. For 30 cents you could feed a starving child in Africa. And I remember my mom came to Colombia, and she was like, "This looks like nothing that I was shown." And so many parts of Africa go through that same kind of treatment. And please, can you kind of shed light into that? Because people probably are looking and they say, "Yeah, you want to go move back to Africa? They don't even have grocery stores, and they don't even have like." I see some of the most ignorant takes, like, "Oh my gosh, they're in the grocery store. Like, where do you think? Like, what is going on?" But people
Yeah.
have that thought because they've never gone, and then what is being shown. isn't the nice parts. It's let me show you slums and say, hey, this is a third world place, and we know that's
Hmm.
not the truth. So can you give me
Hmm.
some paint the picture for these people on what Ghana actually is like versus what is shown?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now I will say that the reason, and as you know, and as many viewers may or may not know, but we are provided this picture of Africa, and it's supposed to be that way in our minds. Like that's why so many people have these feelings about Africa because there's a particular narrative that has been told to us all of our lives, and that is by design, right? So, yes, obviously there are very challenging places to live. Yes, there is poverty everywhere in the world. Yes, there are parts of Ghana that are impoverished. There's parts of everywhere that are impoverished. Like I've been in slums in Europe. Like I've been in plenty of
Yeah.
slums in Europe. Go to Italy. You'll see some poor white people on the street. You'll see some white people in some very bad living conditions. So, but nobody talks about that though, right? That people talk about like how great Italy is and how beautiful it is, blah 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 blah. So it's by design. So while we've been told the narrative that Africa is dangerous and Africa is poor and Africa is a whole bunch of mud huts and yada yada yada, we're not told that Africa is rich in minerals, rich in nutrients, rich in food, rich in culture, and also how massive of a continent Africa is.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of the other all of Europe can fit in like a corner of Africa. All of Europe.
Not drawn that way on
You
the map
know,
though.
is not drawn that way, but all of Europe can fit in a corner of Africa. So when we try to like really frame our minds around what Africa really is, I can definitely speak to the more positive things, and these are the things that they don't really want us as a people to know because they're busy exploiting these things. So Ghana, as you may or may not know, is referred to as the Gold Coast because gold is one of the metals that is rich in Ghana. Obviously, you know Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, they're known as the Ivory Coast. Ghana is known as the Gold Coast. Gold is in abundance here, like huge abundance.
Wow.
Strangely, I actually don't own any gold from Ghana, but I'm going to correct
Get
that
some
before I
because you
leave here.
leaving.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some gold. I'm gonna get some gold from Ghana. I'm saying that I'm like, yeah, I need to get some gold. But yeah, like so Ghana is rich in plenty of minerals, including gold, right? When you are, let's say when you're in Ghana, when you're in the places that you'll find the most, let's say the most expats, the most Americans, the most Canadians, whatever, like that's pretty much like in the heart of Accra. There's tall buildings, there's paved roads. There are a lot of dirt roads too. Like don't get me wrong, every road is not paved. And even the paved
Right.
roads can be in a little bit of questionable integrity, but there are paved roads. There's you can use your credit card. There's ATMs everywhere. There's grocery stores everywhere. There's markets everywhere. There's Uber everywhere. There's public transportation that people are using. So when you get here, you realize like, no, this is an actual major city, right?
Yeah.
And currently, there's just a ton of condos and apartments going up everywhere because there's just so much opportunity. And one thing that also needs to be said about Ghana as well as several other countries such as like Nigeria or other West African countries that I've been to, I mean, people there's a lot of wealthy people. I'll put it there. There's a lot of wealthy people, and
Yeah.
they don't deal in credit. There's no credit scores here.
Don't hear it
People don't
either.
even really use credit cards. It is a cash society. So when you see
Mm-hmm.
somebody driving a Lamborghini, they bought
They
that.
bought.
They had cash. They
They
had
bought that
cash.
joint.
They bought it. Like there's no note. You know what I mean? Like, so that when
Yeah.
you think about it like that, so I see like Range Rovers everywhere. I have a friend who lives around a corner from me he's like an owner of, he owns a restaurant. He has several properties that he owns. His family does very well. He has like six cars. And I'm not joking. He has like six cars. those are not bought
Got
on
you.
credit. So that just
Money.
put it in perspective, like people, like when they got money, like they have money, not like in America where you have a line of credit. My line of credit is long. My line of credit is real long, but how
Hmm.
much cash do I have? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what's important. That's what's important in a place like Ghana, like cash. People have money and people are developing things and people are doing a lot of yeah, development in this country. So there's plenty of opportunity. And I would say like as a diasporan, you can come here and create pretty much anything that you want because there's a market for it. For sure, there's a market for it, whatever it is that you want to do. So I think, and you're probably going to get into this later, and I'm going to wrap this up, but I'm just going to lead
You're
you
good, bro.
so that you
You're giving good
can
information,
lead
man.
me. But so what people would need to do is have an idea of what they might be able to turn into a business. Because what I would not recommend is coming here and working on a local economy. That's not the way. That's not the
Say
way.
that again, because I get that question so many times. Like, what job can I get in insert country? And I'm like, you are thinking about this the wrong way.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say come here and find a job working for, I would say come here and know what your skills are or what you're capable of and create a business plan behind it and then create that business. I mean, even something, and this is like one of my personal pet peeves, but I don't even know if I want to call it a pet peeve, but I would just say that the architecture in Ghana is not my favorite. And that's just being honest. It's no shade to Ghana. It's just not my favorite. The way that they style houses is not I would say not really what my Western preferences are.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
a particular business idea that I could have would be creating some sort of like consulting company that will go out along with your architect or your designer and actually give them like specific feedback on how to position things, how to design a
mm,
house, not from an architectural perspective, but just from like a personal perspective of like what this American or Canadian or whatever insert Western country, what this Westerner is going to be looking at and how to make things more appealing. Or coming in doing something that's like sustainable. Like there's plenty of sunlight here, there's plenty of warm weather here. So how can I create like sustainable farms, sustainable houses, sustainable et cetera, et cetera. Like there's when I would think about like coming to Ghana, I would be thinking in terms of like what can I kind of create or make better here, not who can I go work for. Because then
yeah,
if you're creating something, then you can set your price. You can set your price. Whereas if you go to try to work for somebody, now you're doing whatever they feel like you deserve.
yeah. That's real. And we bring that up because you say come and be entrepreneurial, and I tell you guys that each location that you go to, there are going to be different things that may be an opportunity for you. I don't necessarily recommend coming to Colombia looking to open up a business. However,
Mm-hmm.
another place like Ghana, that could be something that could help you within your ease of transition. Now, there's a business. If you purchase a business here, there's a way to visa and all of that stuff. But I'm saying from an opportunity perspective, there's a guy here that's got a cheesesteak spot, bro. It's the
Mm-hmm.
only cheesesteak spot. There's a lady, shout out to Anasia. She has a Jamaican restaurant. It's the only Jamaican restaurant. So, I mean, some from a food perspective, I would say definitely if you have a particular kind of flair. But, that's an interesting thing because so many people are looking to escape and not realize that there may be better opportunity for them to live a better quality of life, start a business. Matter of fact, I had a guy that told me, it's funny, bro. There's a spot not too far from where I live at now called Skybox, Medellín. And the owner, his name is Tim, was talking to him and said, "Oh, yeah, I went to Morehouse." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I was a professor at Clark." in 2011 finance or something of that nature, and I was like, what the heck is the coincidence that we're meeting down here? But he was like, it was so much cheaper to start this restaurant that I wanted to start here
Hmm.
than it would have been in the United States. So there's always some play with that. Some may be a
Hmm.
little bit more open minded from a business perspective than other countries would. You mentioned Costa Rica, that you had lived there. I know that's been on a lot of people's radar.
Hmm.
Panama is one of those places. So having these kind of conversations with people that actually live there can kind of give you, before you even leave your couch, somewhere to kind of shoot for, you know?
Hmm.
A lot of people don't know, and these conversations aren't abundantly had in a place in forum where you could take it and actually do something. Now, you
Hmm.
talked about something that is important, because I know Americans live and die by a credit score.
Hmm.
And that is not something that the world really follows at all. You know, when we come about looking over and moving into a new place, they're like, do you have the money or do you not have the money? Not do you have the money, and did you treat your did you buy a bunch of 99 cents CDs when you were 15 years old and never paid them back? Because that's on this report, and I don't know if we're gonna give you this house because you bought those CDs. Like, that's really what we go through in the United States, and you don't deal with that when you go abroad. But
Hmm.
each particular location has a different exchange rate when it comes to the money and how much things actually cost. I was just in
Hmm.
Mexico. It's 20 pesos for $1. That's not that favorable. Here in
Hmm.
Colombia, it's 40, almost, I would say 4,000. It ranges, can go over to 45, but it's 4,000 pesos for $1. When you got here, and are you getting paid as like you're like an American, or do you get paid based off of where you're located?
I get paid as an American everywhere. So
Okay,
my
so that's
situation is
good.
definitely different. And I would say, to your point, if you're gonna go somewhere, and this could be anywhere, like my thing would be to like make US dollars. Make US dollars. If you can figure out a way to make US dollars, then you're ahead of the curve. If you can figure out some remote way, whatever it is, to make US dollars, you're already ahead of the curve most of the world.
Hmm.
If you can make euro, I mean that's cool too. If you can make pounds, that's cool too. But if it's not like a major currency that has a good exchange rate, like I would not necessarily be trying to work on a local economy. I'd be trying to figure out how to make US dollars. But if
Yeah,
you can, like let's say if you go to a place where you don't have the opportunity to make US dollars, okay, that's fine. But in a place like Ghana, like since we're talking about Ghana right now, in a place like
yeah,
Ghana, I would be looking into how I can create something of my own where I can dictate the price for whatever I'm marketing, as opposed to applying for a job and having them pay me what the going rate is here.
yeah. Nah, that makes sense. Does your U.S. dollar go like? Is it really far in Ghana, or is it? Because forty
That's
two
that's
hundred
that's
pesos
a
for $1 is I can get a lot for a little bit. Like $500 goes very far here.
yeah. So it's also like depending on the kind of lifestyle that you want to live. Right now, the dollar to CD is 1 to 15, which is good, and you can do a lot with it. But it also just depends on the kind of lifestyle that you want to live. For me, I can go out and spend the same kind of money that I would spend in DC if I want to. I can spend that kind of money, you know, but I could also spend significantly less if I make minor adjustments. So
Okay.
it depends on kind of how you want to live. For example, in my neighborhood, it's a pricey neighborhood, but if I wanted to make my dollars go a little bit further, I would just move somewhere further outside of cantonments where I live. I would
Okay.
maybe move to East Legon Hills, or maybe I would move to like Adenta, or maybe I would move to Oyarifa, or like somewhere else that is it's still Accra, but it's just not like here. You just you're just moving further out. So it's yes, it's very possible to make your dollars stretch a lot further, and it all just depends on the kind of lifestyle that you want to live, you know?
That's real. And
Yeah.
you're just telling everybody what it is that I've already told them. Because I keep,
Yeah.
they're like, well, how much is it? And I'm like, well, where do you want to live? Do you want to live in Poblado and Parque like Guerras area where it's touristy and it's the most expensive place in Medellin? Do you want to live in Envigado, which is like a city right next to Medellin with proximity to be in and out of it? But
Hmm.
there's so many different. And I asked William before we got on the phone. I said, you seen the movie Belly, right? And
Hmm.
now I said, I want to go to Africa. And Africa is an entire continent. And not realizing that your preference and how you want to live comes down to, okay, what country and then which city in said country. And then all of the
Hmm.
different neighborhoods that can offer different things. You can I spend like in the United States here? I would say yeah. I'd have to go. You'd have to be like I'm only going to certain kind. Like there's
Hmm.
a grocery store called Carulla. Bro, I looked up and I spent $75 and I said, there's no damn way to spend $75 in this, but it's the most expensive market in Colombia. Whereas the
Hmm.
local market, the alternative is $1 for a pound of strawberries, 50
Hmm.
cents for these kind of things, $1.25 a pound of oxtail.
Hmm.
So, it comes down to one, if you want to go and America teaches you to go buy all the best stuff but you have to really figure out what your lifestyle is versus what
Hmm.
you've been given because so many people are just following the program that was already set and not
Yeah.
resetting their values. You know what I mean?
You definitely got to reset your way of thinking. And I've been living abroad for, almost all of my career. I've been living abroad almost all of my career except for 2 years during COVID. So I've gotten to see like global perspectives of what is important in life. And I promise the older I get and the more experience that I have, the less and less I believe in a lot of American, I don't want to say ideals, I would say desires,
Yeah.
necessities, insert whatever adjective that, what I mean? It's just like you just start to realize that certain things just aren't really that important. Like, for example, like, going to the club and
Popping bottles.
popping bottles for thousands of dollars. We've done it. We've done it. We've done it. I've spent lots of money in clubs popping bottles, and then I just realized like this is stupid. Now,
Temporary.
don't get me wrong. If I go out somewhere, what I like is it convenient for me to have a bottle at my table instead of going to the bar every single time? Yes, it's convenient, but my mentality is shifted in terms of like why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
When I go out to get a bottle, I'm not doing it so that I can have lights, cameras, yada 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 flashing while I'm opening my bottle. I'm actually just like, no, I just want to have a bottle at my table. Like I would just prefer just
Hmm.
bring me the bottle so that I don't have to like keep going to the bar.
Keep going and
Which is
asking for
just
stuff.
which is just like that's just a different mentality, right? Like even obviously now it's January now, but it was just Deady December,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and there's a place that like we go to frequently called Polo Beach Club, and they were charging like the equivalent of like $3,500 for a section at this beach club, which came with like 6 or 7 bottles or something like that. And I'm like, I know that these bottles you can buy, and I know the 6 bottles that they had. They weren't even serving Casamigos necessarily. Like I know one of the bottles was Mecca, which is you might as well say Jose Cuervo, just Jose
Yeah.
Cuervo. That was served at a table, and I'll be damned if I'm paying $3,000 to be served Jose Cuervo. And I don't care how many bottles of Jose Cuervo you bring. I'm
You
not
could bring
paying three
Jose
thousand
Cuervo out
dollars.
himself. I'm not
I'm not paying
buying.
$3,000 for a table that's serving me Jose Cuervo. So like once you start to look at it like that, I was like, like me and my wife decided we were like, let's just stay in because we were gonna go one place and then people flaked and they were like, oh, we want to go to this PVO party and we'll go here and there. And we're just like, you know what? We've already done this Daddy December thing and it was cool, but oftentimes you end up like making this. this idea in your head that it's going to be so this and so that, and it's going to be so great, blah, blah, blah. And then when you get there, it's not nearly what you expected. And you're probably like a little bit disappointed. So instead of like going out trying to spend $3,000 so I can have a section and pop bottles and try to stun on everybody else who was there, I'm just like, well, I have a bar in my house,
Yeah.
and I'll just pour up some drinks here, and I'll go out to the same place a different day, and it won't be
Yep.
$3,500.
Nope. Yeah.
So
I don't miss American expectations on my life. Like
yeah,
you said, you look back and it's like you've done all of these things, but like what? Like to considerably, because I mean we're at the age now we're seeing a lot of our old heads get older. We're
hmm
starting to have a different perspective on some of the things we've gotten accomplished as younger men and done versus what we can do now. And I know a lot of people are at those crossroads where they if you're in America, you might still be doing it, but you're like, I mean, the last time I remember going to a club in America, none of the people looked like they were even having fun. They just looked like they were there because somebody told them to be there, and that was what they were supposed to
yeah,
do. And now I'm at an age where I'm like, I'm not doing anything that I don't want to do because you guys told me this is what I'm supposed to do. And you look into different places, and as you're living abroad, you're like, I don't care anymore about like, bro, when I moved here, I had probably 70, 80 pairs of sneakers, every kind of shirt, pair of pants. I just don't care anymore enough to be trading all my time and energy away for stuff and things, and to spend $500 in the United States, it goes really quickly versus what it costs you to make $500. The trade off is just it's just no longer something I can sign myself self up for. I hear it going on all across the world, and no matter what community you end up in, you find people in similar scenarios where even though you've been moving around the world because of your job, you've been able to get the appreciation of different cultures and what life abroad could mean versus if you would have never left Baltimore,
yeah. And,
what
and and I
what your
think
life would be
here,
like.
yeah, here, you just like you feel that sense of community and like you belong here. And I think that's one of the things that is most appealing about moving to Ghana. And it's also, I would consider this, I would, kind of tongue in cheek say this is Africa light. And I say that because, as I mentioned earlier, there are many challenging places that I mean, frankly, that are like what we were told our entire lives about how Africa as a whole is. Yeah, there's places that are like that. There's some really difficult places, really sketchy places. So to come to Ghana, it's Africa light. Like it's people speak English. The crime is relatively low. It's very low. I'm not going to say they don't have like petty theft here and there, or sometimes there's like altercations or whatever. But I've never heard a single gunshot in Ghana. Never heard a single gunshot.
See, we
Conversely, I've heard gunshots all throughout my life living in the US.
yeah.
Like I've never heard a single gunshot here. I've never even seen a fight here. I've never seen a fight. I've seen people yell at each other, and they hear it. I mean, it is interesting to see because like based on how we were raised and what we're used to at home, once you start seeing people start to yelling, it ain't long before the hands start getting
Yep.
thrown or somebody up the pistol. Like
Yep. Pop the trunk.
that's what normally happens where we're from. But here it's a lot of like a whole bunch of yelling and hand gestures, and then it's a like, and then people just leave,
All
and
smoke, no
it's
fire.
nothing, no
Cool.
fire. So, and that's just like, that's honestly refreshing. Like I can move
Yeah.
around however I want to, and I never have to worry about having any problems. Like I was at a club the other day, and several dudes came in there with iced out chains on. Like just, if I were the kind of person that robbed people, those would be the people that I would rob. And they felt no
Legendary.
fear, and they shouldn't feel any fear. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they shouldn't. And I used to hang out with the former president's son here. Didn't know that was his son. I didn't know. Somebody else told
And
me.
he had a bunch of
And
social security service around him. Meanwhile,
zero security.
Dang.
Zero
See?
security. And like that's how free it is. Like he did not feel in danger for his life anywhere, and he was, driving his own car. Like he didn't have bodyguards. So it's safe and it's free in that way. So I think that's probably that's in my opinion, that's one of the most appealing things about being in Ghana is the safety
True.
and the like just freedom to be yourself. Like I even as a woman, like my wife, she'll go to this place and that place by herself. She'll drive, she'll catch the Uber, she'll do whatever. She doesn't feel uncomfortable at all
Yeah.
moving around in Ghana. And many other Black women, influencers, travelers, whatever, which we didn't even talk about the influencer topic yet, but even those people,
Good.
like they will come to Ghana and feel totally fine moving around and feeling safe. And I think that's one of the biggest things that matters. Like for me is like my health, my safety, obviously my family's well-being. Like I just had a child. So like now in the front of my
Congrats to
brain
that, my
is
brother.
like how I am going to provide and make sure that my family is in like a safe environment.
Yeah.
And I feel really good about it being here. Feels really comfortable being here. So I think, yeah, as a person of the diaspora coming, picking a place to come, I would say this is an easy, soft landing to
See?
come. And you don't need a lot of money. You could come here with a little bit of money, and if you manage it well, that can last you a long time. And and I think that's probably jumping ahead to another topic that you may touch on, but which is what is it like to like buy property here or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't bought any property here. This is not me saying that other people shouldn't buy property here. I think
Mm-hmm.
that if you plan on living here indefinitely, whatever, I think it's a fantastic idea. And with that, I would caution people and say that it can be tricky buying property here because they don't necessarily have the same types of um, they don't have the same types of securities when it comes to vetting who the property you're purchasing it from. Like they don't, that's the tricky part because you might say you're buying something from this person and then he don't even really own land. And really it's a chief of like a tribal chief of the area who really owns the land. So now you thought you bought some land, you just gave somebody some money, and now you don't actually own the land because you didn't talk to this chief to get the chief to sell it to you properly. So that's one of the things that can be tricky when it comes to buying property. If the house is already built, that's different. But like to buy a
Yeah.
piece of land and build something on it yourself, that can be tricky. Not impossible, but you do need to have a little bit of savvy around how you enter into that. Like you really have to make sure that you have somebody local that's gonna like walk you through the steps, that's gonna check on the property, that's gonna check on all the deeds. You got to have some sort of lawyer. You need to know who the chief is in that area. You need to clear it
See?
with a lot of people before you just pay somebody some money for a piece of property until you are certain that
Yeah.
nobody else owns rights to that. Because I have heard, of course, the horror stories of people buying land and they get there and then somebody else comes up like, nah, this is my land. Like this is my people's land. And now you have a situation. Now you have a real situation.
Yeah. And that's why you bring up that point because it's because people are in an emotional, stressful scenario, they're willing to go make knee jerk reactions, and anybody can put up a site, put up a phone number. I mean, I came from South Florida. South Florida is the legal scam city areas. Like I've seen so many legal scams, and what people don't know is a lot of things in the United States are black and white, whereas
Mm,
out of the country, things are more discretionary. And if you
mm-hmm.
guys don't know how discretion works, maybe that guy's nice every day, but his wife left him yesterday and he's pissed off today. And discretion, what could happen with discretion is without having vetted resources, without having trusted individuals that can help with these processes as you go look, and you're telling me that you're willing to go spend. I just saw somebody in one of these Facebook groups, the travel ones. You might have seen it too. Somebody got scammed out of $60,000 for like a
Mm.
Zanzibar trip, and I'm like, You send $60,000 to who? To where? Who actually vetted this person? And that's such an important thing to when
Hmm.
it comes down to the visa process, when it comes down to purchasing land, when it comes down to renting a property. Imagine if you rented a property from Facebook Marketplace and you're in there and then you go to the grocery store and all of your stuff is gone when you come back because the people had a key and it wasn't a legitimate place.
Hmm.
This can happen without people putting proper precautions and or working through vetted resources in order to be able to make certain that they are actively doing the
Hmm.
legwork of what it is they need to do. So many people are about to do just jump out. They got to go. I tell you, they go from TikTok to terminal. They're gonna
Yeah.
go from this conversation to man. Drew said Ghana's gonna be great. I'm about to just go. You weren't listening to Drew. You weren't listening to Roger. They said you need to do a number of different homeworks, and then once you do your homework, you need to do the leg work. You need to go inspect what you expect out of this place before you sell your entire life. Because if you
Hmm.
didn't, you see so many people that are going back to the United States with sad stories.
With their
Oh,
tail
this
between their
happened. This
legs.
happened. And it's like you
Yeah.
didn't do any research. You tried to make this a move from New York to Miami, and you went from New York to Ghana, and didn't have a good time because you didn't even do any of this stuff.
Yeah, and also with that too, like you have to understand what the local customs are. That's kind of towards to the point that you were saying about discretion, and just kind of as a sidebar to that, like you need to understand the culture of a place before you make any serious decisions. So
So
you
serious.
can like you can say, you know what, like forget about what I'm doing in America. I'm about to sell all my stuff and then just move to Ghana. Yes, you can do that, but I would say my caution would be when you go to Ghana, forget about who you were back in the States. Try to reset that mind and learn, get into what it is here and learn how people are moving, what the expectations are, what because people like here, people will say yes to you for anything. It does you can ask them something, they're gonna say yes. Yes doesn't always mean yes, and
I was
you'll
like,
find that out. You'll find that out very quickly. Yes doesn't always mean yes. Yes is just a response. And if you come as an American and you're like, well, I asked them could they do X, Y, and Z, they said yeah, or asked them did they have this at the store, they said yeah. That's just what they say, and you can get very disappointed if you don't understand that like culturally how things work. So like coming here and being very open being very open-minded and understanding how the culture works. So I would like say recommend get an Airbnb for a month, you know, stay in an Airbnb for a month. And then
somewhere
after that
safe
month is
that you got
over,
some
yeah,
protections.
yeah, find another Airbnb and stay there for a month. Like get a feel of the lay of the land a little bit, and then you can kind of focus on how, where you like, how people are moving, what is customary to do, and
Yeah.
and then on top of that, I would like to add that if you have the idea that this is a place where you can just buy some property and let it and trust that it's going to get built and et cetera, that I would say is a huge mistake. If you want to have something built here or you want to invest some money into a project, you kind of need to be here.
Yeah.
Unless you already know people and already have the connections on the ground, you kind of need to be here. And it's kind of easy now that I've lived here for almost 3 years. It's very easy to get things done if you know how to go about getting those things done. But I wouldn't trust doing that if I wasn't actually physically here.
See, y'all
So
ready to
yeah.
y'all ready to do so much. Like literally, is this cutting off? Maybe it is. Our Instagram, but they're ready to do so much and not do the actual homework that they're going to need, not to lose all their money and not to like. I tell people you need a trusted community of vetted resources. I'm an ambitious person. When I went to go move abroad, I literally looked at a situation where I was saying, "Hey, let me jump into a Facebook group and get to know some people that already live out here." I didn't want to go there with just what I was thinking. And
Hmm.
even then, I went and took it a step further. My buddy Akeem, he was doing a group trip. He's another a group travel curator, and he was doing something in Puerto Rico in San Juan, and we went to Luisa, which is the Afro Puerto Rican area of Puerto Rico. And when I went down there for two reasons. One, we're in the same field, but two, I knew that he was somebody that had already built community in Colombia, and
Mm,
that was a way that I could try to help make my transition a lot easier, as well as meet somebody that was in the same vein as us. And he was 100% open, and we have done so many things together. And I will tell people, you might be in America and might feel like the people around you aren't willing to be a part of community. I can see that so
mm,
many times, and I can get that. But I often tell people, the people that were told they were crazy for moving out of the country, people that were told that they were a little crazy just in general, even living in the country, they're all, once they go out, finding each other. Like the world, it gets kind of scary, bro, because like the world really be getting the
for
world
sure.
on. And like, why did you like, yo? I don't even know how I met you, yet you're here in front. Like, shout out to the homie Jasmine. Jasmine came from, she moved from New York. I think she's from Alabama, and literally was going into Skybox, and you have to take the elevator up. Get in the elevator, push the
Mm,
button. She said, hold on one second. We get in the elevator. I end up talking to her. Man, we done been on podcasts together. We done went and broke bread together. She done been in my house. And it's just like the most insane energy to be able to just go in your way and go in the way, and you meet with some people, and it's like y'all can't be introverts out of the United States. You're gonna have to break that shell, bro. Cause there's
yes,
no reason for you to leave if you're gonna just be, I'm a hermit, I'm not willing to learn anything new. I'm chicken fingers it is. Like, no. Stay in the United States.
those are definitely not my people. And if I find somebody that's just on like I'm only eating chicken fingers, or I'm only looking for stuff that I have in America, I tend to shy away from those types of people. At the level that I'm at like top world traveler, live
Yeah.
abroad status. Like you got to be on that sort of a level to hang out with me, I guess. And that's not even saying that I'm just like I'm not trying to inflate myself. I'm just saying based on my experience and my things that I like and dislike and the kind of people that I like to be around, it's like I want to be around people that can like respect the culture, appreciate the culture, and add something to the environment that they're in instead of taking so much from the environment. And I feel like that kind of I'll segue into a little bit of the influencer
Please,
conversation that
please
we
do.
had kind of touched on.
Please
And
do.
I feel like, I mean, me as a travel company owner. Shout out to Urban Travel, by the way. This is my shirt right there, Urban Travel. Check us out. Anyway, me as a travel company owner, you as a travel company owner, like I need social media to an extent. Not to an extent, like my business is run through social media. I need social media.
Yeah.
So I also need to be somewhat of a creator or an influencer, though I do not consider myself to be either of them, honestly.
Hmm.
Um, and I cringe a lot of times when I watch people's content creations because my question is like, what are you doing this for? What is your purpose? It feels like everybody has this idea that you're gonna make so much money being a content creator, being a travel content creator. And I mean, I know there's money out there to be made, but that don't mean that you're gonna make it. Like there's a very, very small percentage of people. I know personally several, and I'm not gonna name drop them, but there's several people that you follow that probably everybody watching this follows. They not doing what you think they're doing. They probably live at home with their mother still. You know what I mean? Like they aren't necessarily living the life that is portrayed. And then my question is like, why? Or even when they do their business deals, they do their brand deals, they might get like a free night stay at a hotel. They might get, you know, a comp meal at a restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not knocking the hustle, like do your thing. But I also like kind of respect people that like tell the whole story of what it's actually like. There
The
are some
issue with
content
that is
creators that do
people
that.
can't tell their story though. If you're there 72
Yeah,
hours, how can you actually turn around and give a true factual story of anything? And
yeah,
that's half the problem. They're turning 72 hours and positioning it as law. Like,
right.
y'all follow me,
Or
and this is law.
making it be like making it seem like they were there for 2 weeks. Many
$72.
outfit change on the street, take a photo shoot over here, do this, do that. I'm like, yeah, but what are you doing it for? And I think I got at one point in time, I posted a question on my page and I said, hey, if you could go anywhere in the world, you could go on your dream trip, but the only caveat was you can't take any pictures. Would you still go? And a shocking number of people said no, they wouldn't go. So that just, I mean, it blew my mind. Maybe because I'm a millennial, I don't know. But it blew my mind. I'm like, you would forgo an experience because you couldn't take a picture and post it to social media. So that's why I asked, like, again, like with the content creators, like, why, what are you doing this for? And I feel like back in the day when like maybe Instagram first originated and everything was based on organic growth, you
Yeah.
follow people because they were actually doing something that they put out in their their pictures or created content. Like there's a few people that like I'll give a shout out to like Jabril, who does like Passport Heavy. I don't know him personally, but I know that he's been like creating content before content creating was really like a mainstream sort of a thing because
Mhm.
he was actually like living those experiences that he was creating, right? You look at like Phil Walkie, he actually like lives those experiences that he's creating. That's why he had like a TV show at some point. I don't know if he still has it or not, but like there's certain people that I followed because they were living the way they were living. And the reason why I even have a travel company now is because people saw me actually doing and living the certain things.
Yeah.
And that's why they were like, hey, we want to come with you,
Come with
on the
you.
next
Yep.
trip. And that's how the travel company started. It was literally just people wanted to come with me. Simple.
It's
And it wasn't
exactly the
because
same thing.
I was trying to create a
I
certain
was just
image.
like, yo, I came into this place and I posted this picture, and they're like, where are you? And I'm like, in Cartagena, and they're like, where the heck is that? And then, yo, that's crazy. But yeah, same thing. It was very organic that the way that
Yes.
it happens, and I think
Yes.
it's starting to lose its flair because there was a time when you knew people that were really showing you genuine experiences, and now in the microwave attention era, everything is everything and everybody. It's like the American dream. Everybody feels like they can be the next content creator to make it, and all they have to do is just
Mm-hmm.
this. And it's it's there's the 1% that are doing it, and the 99%. The only thing I want to make certain is that with all the content creators that are out here, the biggest thing for content consumers is to filter to find authenticity. So many
Yes,
people
absolutely.
are literally creating content to say, you can't sit here with us, you can't do this. They're not talking to actual communities and people. They're even talking more so to ideas, and these people don't even exist. They're talking to the people that everybody wants to be, but nobody actually is. And it's a situation where the content comes off as like very.
Wait, I
Some of
lost
y'all
you.
look like if Christopher Columbus would have had a TikTok account. Damn, am I reconnecting?
Hello, hello.
Let's
Lost you
see.
for a second.
Yeah, some of y'all definitely look like if Christopher Columbus had a TikTok account. Y'all go and y'all go and shove cameras in people's faces. Can you hear
Sorry,
me?
lost you for
No,
a
I
second.
know.
Yeah,
No, I was reconnecting. I was saying that so many
yeah.
of y'all, these TikTok creators, are like if y'all would have gave Christopher Columbus a TikTok account and he was going around and literally colonizing on live TV. And so many people don't even. Black people often don't think that they can be colonizers and don't
Mm-hmm.
realize that that American stank that you got on you, that you don't even know you smell it. Like, you'll smell that. Like, you can go, and I see so
Yeah.
much ignorance with people like just putting cameras in people's faces and taking just pictures of people like joy riding through the hood. It kills me when I see people like, yeah, take me to the hood. Why you want to go in these people's hood with your camera out? With this kind of stuff, and it's like, We need more people that are willing to show authentic stories, tell the truth about not just it's a bottle in Colombia is only $40, but tell the truth about how you need to come to Colombia or how you need to come to Ghana with the etiquette portion that we've been hinting about with how do you prepare to leave America where America is and not bring America and expect America from somewhere else. So many
Hmm.
people are in this situation and you guys don't even know because we don't get to feel this way, honestly, bro, especially coming from the same area until we leave. You didn't feel like an American until you left America. So
Hmm.
many of us don't feel the American like I was like, okay, so now outside of America, I now know what an American feels like or what it feels like to be an American, but I don't feel like that going back home to America. And I say that is
Hmm.
because when you go and you leave, you have to check your privilege that you didn't even know that you were wearing and really become a part of the community that you're saying that I'm literally signing myself up for. I see my man Yvonne just came on. He's one of our language experts. I see people don't know how to say hello. How are you? Buenos dias. Where's the bathroom? I've seen people almost die down here because they don't even know that 911 is not a universal emergency number. Never mind, I have an allergy to peanuts. I have an allergy to peanuts. I know the word for peanuts. I know how to say I have an allergy for peanuts because if you give me peanuts, todo bien, Ivan. Um, that can be something that can honestly I can check. And so many people aren't willing to even do those things. And then you go to a place like Ghana, which is on everybody's radar, and you're like, oh, I speak English. And they're like, well, that's cool. Everybody speaks English there, so it's going to be just like America. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and I would say for sure there's things about Ghana that definitely drive me crazy, but there's a lot of things that make it really beautiful and that make it worthwhile to live. I mean, and just to just keep it a buck, to point out a few things that drive me crazy, like open sewers drive me crazy. And what I mean, like literally, like the on the sides of the roads, there's sewers that are probably about, I don't know, a foot, 2 feet wide, and it's just open. It's just open sewage. So that drives me crazy. There's no sidewalks in Ghana. This is not a walkable city. That's
Wow.
disappointing for me. So yeah, like there's no,
I
I
think,
mean, like traffic, potholes drive me crazy. The fact that you can't get things consistently sometimes, like a lot of products, they just aren't consistent. That will drive
uh,
me crazy. There's a lot of things, just how systems work, that are less than favorable for me in a lot of ways, and probably less than favorable for many Americans to come here.
yeah.
However, you have to consider like the overall, like what's most important to you, what really matters more. And it's like I said, for me, like having the safety, being in a place where I'm not looked at any differently because I'm black. Nobody's
Yeah.
threatened by me.
Hmm.
There's opportunity for me. There's fresher food. There's there's medicinal, sorry, not medicinal, there's holistic medicines. There's things that you can take to make you feel better, as opposed
Yeah.
another big thing, and this is not exclusive to Ghana, but this is something that I've experienced in many other places around the world, the access to healthcare.
Healthcare.
When my wife was pregnant, she
Back.
could text her doctor on WhatsApp, and she could go to see the doctor every week, get an ultrasound every week. When I lived in Costa Rica, my dentist used to send me reminders on WhatsApp and say, "Hey, it's time for a cleaning." And I could just respond, all right, what's your schedule looking like tomorrow? Or what about next week? You know what I mean? As opposed to
Yeah.
in America, trying to get any sort of, medical attention, you got to go through a phone number, a waiting
15
list.
middlemen.
15, like press 9, press 1, press 7. Oh, sorry, like our call volume is higher than usual. Like you got to go through all of this stuff just to get any sort of attention, whereas here, and not just here, but like here you just have access to things that you should have access to, and
you
it's
should
not
have access
difficult.
to. It's not behind this paywall or anything
Yeah.
else. And that's why, that's the two biggest things. Because I had that here and you did a great job of bringing that back because you talked about safety. And I know that's biggest people's concern. And so many people don't even realize that you are not safe in the United States. Why do you think everywhere else is just so bad where every day it's a mass incident? That does not
Hmm.
happen around the world. Kids are not in school. We remember fire drills. That was about as many drills as that we had. Now these kids are
Hmm.
learning how to make themselves small and get behind this if something happens. That is
That's
not
crazy.
normal.
That's
And
crazy.
y'all
That's not
asking
normal.
me, do I live somewhere safe? And then you talk about healthcare because I know you got married, you just had your baby. The access to healthcare, it pales in comparison to what the experience of the United States. Listen, my dog gets treated better than you guys here. For $30, the vet come to my house, spend an hour with the dog. The dog had aromatherapy, the steamer joint going. She plays jazz. I'm like, is this lady still in the house? The dog just sitting there with his eyes closed, getting a neck massage. And I'm like, yeah, he's certainly fine, but this is the massage part of it. $30. I got sick. The doctor came to my house for $40, spent an entire hour with me. When I was in the United States, I had health care. I used to go, if I had to go to urgent care, that's a $60 copay for me to spend $20, 20 to 30 minutes in a cold ass waiting room, to go spend 5 to 10 minutes with the nurse, to go spend 3 to 5 minutes with said doctor that I recently came in here with, to go possibly get a medication that's probably gonna cost me anywhere from another $30 to $50. When I got sick, the dude came, $40, literally wrote me a prescription. They got Rappy here. Everything is not monetized, so I literally did not leave my house. All I did was tell them what the prescription was, and they sent it to my house. And it was like $1 or $2, maybe not even that, for said medicine. So when we talk about where's it safe where you live at? It ain't safe where you live at. You actually live in a third world country based off of your standards, but you don't even realize that.
Don't
If
even
most of your
realize.
citizens can't read, if most of your citizens don't have access to health care, if most of your citizens can go to work every day, all day long, and still not be able to afford a house to live in, if they can give you, if organic and dolphin free is a paid label, who lives in the third world country? Because I know I don't. My quality of life is a lot better in said third world country than it is in your first world country. So check your
Those are
privilege.
those are labels that were put there for a reason. But yeah, like you said, you got to check the privilege, and you won't truly understand all those things that you said until you go somewhere else and spend some
Until you
time.
unplug.
Spend Yeah, you have to spend some time. You can't just go on vacation. Vacation is fun, but until you actually go somewhere and really start to understand, then you can really see that things a lot of things in America aren't normal. Like you said about the school shooter, like active shooter drill. That's
Watch the
not
S words.
normal.
Can't say the S words
Oh,
on here too much.
oh,
They get
sorry.
into the, yeah.
My
That's why I
bad.
said mass incidents.
So you that's just a thing that's not normal, and we in
It's
America
becoming.
think that it's normal. It's not normal. So,
They know
you
it's not
know,
normal. They just forgot it wasn't. You know why?
yeah.
Because you and I are both old enough to remember when Columbine happened. You remember
Hmm.
that that was never going to happen again.
Hmm.
They said never again. We're not going to let these things happen. You know,
And
there's explosion. It would never again. We're going to get together and we're going to make certain that these children don't have to go through this. You don't have to worry about going to the grocery store. And
hmm.
then it just became Monday, Tuesday,
Hmm.
Wednesday, Thursday. You know what I mean? So it's not like they don't know that it's not normal. They just forgot
Yeah,
because it
it's
became normalized. If you put violence, 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 violence in front of your face every day, are you going to have the exact same reaction that you had to it on the first day, on the 15th day? But when you
yeah.
get back out and you almost reset yourself and you say, hey, this is not happening everywhere, whereas I was thinking that it's going to happen. Like you moving back to the United States, you're about to pick up some heavy ass weights that you haven't had for quite some time. And now you're going back with the wife and a new baby in a new thought process that you're like, bro, I have been out of this place for a while, Even when you went home for a couple of weeks, I guess that was probably to go see the family, introduce them to the
Hmm.
baby. I was asking you, how is it, bro? Like, no, no, no. How is it? Like, how you doing over there? Because I know what it's
Yeah,
like going back there, and it's like,
yeah. It feels weird. It honestly does. So it's great. Obviously, like you said, speaking of like the privilege, I would rather be from nowhere else. I'm happy to be an American. I'm happy that I was born. The luck of the draw, I was born where I
yeah,
was born, and I've been able to look at the world from a certain viewpoint. And yes, it is a privilege to be American because we do have opportunities
hmm,
that are not necessarily available in other places. Like that's bottom line. We do have opportunities that are just some places that are impossible. So that is a great thing to have. But I would just say like to wrap up like the entire thought of like living in Ghana or anywhere else for that matter, but like understanding that America is not the only place that exists. And it's not like you can have a fantastic life in many different other places better than you probably ever would have imagined. Like we like to think that we're the leaders of the world and we're the innovators and everybody's trying to be like us and blah blah blah. It took me going to Brazil. The first time I went to Brazil in what 2000, I don't know what year this was, 14, 13, something like that. I went to Brazil and nobody spoke English and it blew my
true. And
mind.
that Portuguese is tough too.
Oh yeah, it is. Like
That French
it blew
Spanish,
my mind
whew,
because I was like, wow, here is an entire country of people that
massive
do
country.
not care about speaking English. So then it just let me know how small I was in the world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time. I mean, it sounds crazy, but that was shocking to me. I'm like, wow, like don't nobody speak English here? And they're moving around,
Yeah.
moving along, doing their thing, not a care in the world. They do, and they not only do they not speak English, they're not gonna try to speak English to you either. They're just like, I don't know what you're talking about, so figure out what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That experience I think is very important for every American to have to like go where they don't look like you, go where they don't speak your language, go somewhere completely different and not just to be on a resort somewhere that is specifically designed to make you feel comfortable. Go
Right,
feel
yeah. Right. Right.
uncomfortable. Go feel
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable for a while. It'll teach you something, it'll teach you some things about yourself when you go somewhere and you don't know how to communicate
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that will change your viewpoint on that'll check your privilege, how important you
Yeah.
think you are,
Mm-hmm.
whatever sort of clout you think you might have had. That'll change your whole viewpoint and make you realize that like at the end of the day, like we're all people, you know.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, we all want the same thing. We all want to eat. We all want to laugh. We all want to love our families.
Mm-hmm.
We all want to provide for our families, and that's pretty much it. Like everybody around the world wants those things.
Yep.
So kind of once you, like you said, once you reset and like check your privilege and you move around to these different places and you start to appreciate that we have more things in common than we do that are separating us, it'll allow you to be more vulnerable. It'll allow you to relate to people in a different way and allow you to embrace people and also for them to embrace you, right? So yeah, all that to say, like obviously, like I said, I live in Ghana now. It's great. I think it's a great place for people of the diaspora to come for sure. There's plenty of opportunity, but surely before you come out here, like you said, do your research, come out here to visit, and if you're really thinking about moving here, like stay for a while before you before you just buy that one-way ticket and really figure out like if this is the place for you because maybe Ghana
One
isn't
week is
the
not a while. Heads up,
yeah, yeah,
y'all. 1 week is not a
yeah.
while. I know how Americans don't have any. They don't have any time off, but 1 week is not the while that he's mentioning. I didn't want to cut you
Nah,
off, but I just need to bring clarity to that because they're gonna be like, "I went for 5 days. I saw everything I needed to see." No, you didn't.
no, no. Yeah, one week is not a while. If you're really trying to move out here, you should probably be out here for a few weeks at the least.
At
A
the
few
very
weeks.
least.
Yeah.
at the very least.
So,
Yeah.
and then you might find Ghana's a great place for you, or perhaps South Africa is a better place. Perhaps Kenya is a better place. And
You
those are some of
didn't
my favorite countries.
sell all your stuff and drop and say, I'm just going based off of what these guys were talking about. Like, no, these guys, if you listen, are saying, come for a little bit. These people are about to leave the United States with a wedding ring for a country they never met. Just
Yeah.
like you would never go on a first date with an engagement ring.
Yeah.
Date these countries because it's not like the dating game. When you date and you have a long relationship and you get broken up, you say, you know what, I need to take a couple of years off for myself, find myself and who I am. But and you talking about dating like a country to country, you don't have that ability. The moment you give up one country, you immediately got to get into a new relationship.
Mm,
So do what you got to do to maneuver and give yourself. Nothing is guaranteed, bro. Nothing is 100%. All we're talking about is increasing the probability of somebody moving abroad and having success.
absolutely.
So that's really one of the biggest things that I think most people, no matter what place you go, you have to go with that thought process and mindset. You guys have heard a number of things on here. Biggest highlights: Ghana is a lot more safer than the United States. Healthcare is a lot more abundant, and people have adequacy. Because I know people
Accessible,
work
accessible.
accessible. That's what we're looking for. And finances. You can spend like you're in the United States, or you could spend a lot less, but it depends on your lifestyle. I say if you are looking to move from the United States to go spend as if in the United States, you might not be ready to actually move and leave yet because you're trying to take America. So French people, they have Canada and then they've got French Canada. And I asked a Canadian the other day, I said, well, why do so many French people go to the French Canada part? She's like, imagine if you had France just in another place. Well, America doesn't really have that. You can't take and go from Detroit and expect Detroit and Columbia. There's nowhere that you're going to find it. There's nowhere America is just like everything is done like America, but this is a whole new country. They have their own identity, culture, traditions. Nobody's moving that fast. All of these things are coming into you being really ready to go. So I told people, y'all stayed after the first time, y'all stayed after the pandemic, and now y'all really faced with another possible orange man in office again. If you don't leave, people say, "Oh God, I'm asking for somebody to come save me. I'm asking for somebody to come save me." This is the lifeboat. The lifeboat is here. There are plenty of opportunities for you. I'm bringing on other people. We had Ghana today. Panama will be coming on. I got a homie in Qatar. We're gonna be bringing these conversations so you can get some real information from somebody that already did what you may be considering doing. And then you can make a decision from there. But you're gonna find one thing. They all gonna say, everybody gonna say, come to where it is you're looking before you go sell all your things. They probably all gonna say it's a lot safer in the United States. The cost of living is a lot more affordable than the United States. So safety, I won't bring you on. You're not going to see Andrew ain't telling none of his friends he was living in Iraq. If he was living in Iraq, I would not be bringing him on here right now to tell you to kind of about bringing himself to Iraq. So we are only bringing people on here that can bring you somewhere or give you some clarity on where it is you're going and make certain that you're doing it in the right way. So Drew, I appreciate it, bro. Have been on. I'm gonna mess around and be on live all day because I had to be back on here at 3 o'clock. But I appreciate you for taking time out away from your family, man. I appreciate you for always being
My
solid
pleasure.
since I met you in Lenox Mall when you had some capris on. I said, bruh, you got to be from up north from somewhere. I remember that day, bro. So
Wow.
it
Facts.
is. Yeah, I got a good memory, bro. We was in Lenox Mall. It was me, Jared, and Kyle, and it was you and Black. And y'all was walking through, and I said, "Bro, these boys got to be from up north somewhere." And they's like, "Yeah, we from Bmore. This one you had the dreads, baby. Come on now." I
Yep.
remember all this.
Yep.
So
Back in the day.
literally, it's been a journey both together as well as separately to be able to come back on something like this. Seeing how far we've come from two young men in Atlanta trying to get it figured out to you being 78 countries deep, me being living somewhere I never saw myself living. It's an opportunity. One to say thank you for being solid and appreciate you guys as always. You got anything to say to the people before we get out of here?
Nah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for the invitation to come on here and talk. I'm an only child, so I like talking to other people. So I have plenty of information. If you change the topic up to something else or a different aspect of Ghana or a different aspect of, solo traveling or whatever the case may be, whenever you want to just like chop it up and talk about some things that are important to you, important to me, whatever,
Yeah.
just let me know. We can do it again. Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, nah, for certain. Make sure y'all go. Mention he got it on his T-shirt, Urban Travel. We tell y'all we can't do everywhere that you guys want to go. We always do our best to try to link up with other Black curators that are doing the work because it takes the community. We do not all have to go by ourselves. We can all go together and go a lot further. So this is why these conversations are important. I will see you guys in a couple of hours. I'll be back on here at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock is one of my favorite topics: how to travel the world free without good credit. Because not everybody has good credit, so you got to get some tips on how to travel the world for free or start traveling for free by taking advantage of some of these things that are just right there on there. And then tonight we'll be back at 6:30. We're going over our relocation tours. Drew said it best: go to where you're going and looking for. Well, these relocation tours are designed to bring you here, show you the neighborhoods, the banks, the grocery stores, put you in front of all of those experts that you need, like Yvonne, like Daniel, who is an immigration lawyer, like the other Daniel, who will help you buy property. Those things you mentioned, somebody coming to Ghana and doing that. Daniel Paul over here already does that. So we will be back a little bit later. Drew, you enjoy the rest of your weekend, man. Enjoy your time. You got 6 more months, man, before you get back to the States. Soak
Yeah.
Ghana up.
I'm gonna try to make it a quick visit back to the States for only a year before I'm shooting back out, hopefully to Latin America somewhere near you.
Come on, bro. I'm not going nowhere. Listen, pound sign, she sure gonna say I'm not coming back. So I
Look,
appreciate you. Definitely don't spend too much time there, good brother. Just get on, come on back.
yeah, all right, bro. I appreciate it,
All right. I
and we'll be
appreciate
in
you as
touch.
always, man. Take
All
it
right,
easy.
later.
Bing.